welcome to Vendy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your environmental, ecological hosts. Joining me as always is our other environmental and ecological host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack?
You know, I'm totally environmental and ecological. I bought...
Are they the same thing?
I mean, no, right? And
No,
I mean,
don't think so.
no. There's many definitions for environment, right?
It's true. There's commonality there, but they're not the same thing.
I know I'm a lot of talk, but I actually went out and I bought crow bird seed. And I'm feeding the crows in the yard now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How close?
You know, they're feral. And I also have a bird, my own bird, who's adorable and like wants to like live in my shirt. So it's like they're very far. The spectrum is wide for birds. But I think that like once they figure it out, I want to murder. I want to be a crone. And once they figure out that like I'm their person, if I can keep the dog from like eating all the food and barking at them every time they come by. And this isn't even I'm all the crack, but I also am now feeding a turkey that's been hanging out behind our fence at like 3:00 in the afternoon, just kind of shows up and like stands there looking startled. And I'm like, okay. So I started like dropping a little bird seed back there too. So I'm just, you know me, I'm feeding things.
Because I think I told to see one whenever we were there, a wild turkey, but I don't think I did. So yeah, I'll need you to send me a photo.
I
of this
will.
wild turkey.
I'm
curious to see what it looks like.
I think it's a female. You know, they're a little dowdy looking, but real sweet and very scared of everything. So, you know. Also, I got off my braces, which was supposed to be a 6-month endeavor, and I know I complained to you about, and it took a year, but I have teeth that it's weird because like the bottom I had metal brackets and the top I had ceramic, so you could like not see them as much, except you drink a cup of coffee and then it dyes them a different color, right? Or at least the rubber bands. But they had to actually like crack the ceramic off the tooth. I wasn't like It wasn't like popping it off. It was like, no, we actually have to like crunch it and like dissolve it, so you know, like shit's gonna go everywhere. And I was like, oh, this is fun.
Did it feel weird?
Yeah. There were, and like you're supposed to bite down on this thing, and like, stuff was going everywhere. But, you know, I will say I definitely lost some gum line. And I definitely have to wear a retainer for the next 6 months all the time. And I don't know if I would do it over again, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the payout versus the
cost benefit.
Yep.
Or reward. Yeah. So.
Interesting. Okay. Good to know. I mean, incredibly lucky that I've never had braces. My sister, we've talked about this before.
Yeah, you're like one of.
Did.
Yes, makes me so mad.
My teeth aren't.
Your teeth are fabulous.
Thanks.
Especially for being, you know, of the heritage that you are. I guess it's British teeth. Well, no, your dad is your dad British?
No, my mom.
Your mom is. That's right. And
English. Yeah.
English.
Well, kind of, but like, I mean, you know, it's all mixed
I
match. I think like their family originally came from here, but like also, you know, what is Northern Ireland, and you know,
yes,
things will unravel quickly if I really try to pick this apart here, you know.
So yeah, Mike never had braces either. So which he reminds me about, you know, his superior genetics all the time, just like you.
Incredible.
I know. How are you? What's a crack?
Not too bad. You know, since we last spoke, a lot of time kind of planning my Canada trip. Over the past few weeks, that has been keeping me quite busy. You know, like in terms of, you know, trying to figure out camper vans and get those all booked.
I guess like, what kind of what kind of, are you camping? Are you hiking? Are you staying at Airbnbs?
We are getting a camper van, essentially. Like it's a kind of a converted like Dodge something or other, but it's quite a big sort of vehicle that like has a bed in the back essentially, and we can sleep in the van itself. Because we looked at a few different options, and there was like those things where you can get like a Jeep and it has a tent box on top of it and things like that. And they all sounded nice, but I'm also kind of aware that there are shitloads of bears up there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I want to be in a tent if there's bears everywhere? So I think I'm happier sleeping in a car. Not just bears, a variety of other stuff. But like, what's interesting to me is that a lot of we booked some accommodation in Calgary as well, and the person who we booked the accommodation with was like, "Oh, before you go on your trip, if you want to come and see us, we can give you some bear mace, for your travels." And I'm like, "Oh, there's bear mace is." Everybody's telling us we need to have bear mace, and I'm like, "Oh shit."
Has anyone
okay.
talked to you about bear? Do you have bear bells?
I have heard of them.
You should get.
Yes,
yeah, I mean, it's like it just lets them know you're coming, and they don't want to be, unless it's cocaine bear. No. They don't want to. And you have cocaine on you. They don't. They're just. Yeah. They want to run away.
Cocaine bear just wants his fix.
Right.
And that's understandable. He loves cocaine.
I know.
The
things you can't make up.
Exactly. But yes, no, I've heard about the bells and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that we'll at least have some bear mace or some sort of supplies in there. But if not, we'll pick up some stuff. We'll pop into a Target.
If they're talking about bear mace, then you probably also want to, and like if you're campsites, usually the campsites will have bear boxes for trash, because that's where they get you, is if you keep trash in like your van, or they smell it and then they try and rip into it. So we're gonna be careful. And I know like lobbing garbage everywhere all the time.
Absolutely. Doesn't give a shit. But like my girlfriend did make the point that she was like, I don't want to miss a bear. Are you gonna miss a bear? And I'm like, hell no. If there's a bear coming at me, I'm just gonna drop the bear mace and lie down and just let whatever happens gonna happen. Really, know. So
So you put your hand. I don't know why I know this. We had bears in Oregon. So you put your hands behind your neck and then you curl up in a ball and you protect your vital organs. It depends on the bear. There's a certain type. It depends on the bear, I think, too.
Yes.
Like a grizzly, like you're fucked basically. Brown bears, black bears. Some of them you're like you want to just kind of curl up in a ball and pretend to be dead. Okay. So fun. Not bad for the heart at all.
It's going to be exciting.
So can I just ask about like camp? Is it a European thing to just like go somewhere and get a camper van and like drive around?
That's a good question. Like it's not something that I have done a ton of, but when we were thinking about what this might look like, this made a ton of sense to us. Do you know what I mean? And like it was like this should be a fun way to, and gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of explore. Because like if we go to Airbnbs or whatever,
then you're locked in.
We're reliant on public transport. We're reliant on et cetera, et cetera. So we thought this would give us a lot of flexibility in terms of where we want to hike, where we want to visit, and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it definitely does happen. And I know there's a lot of people in this country, especially over lockdown, who actually bought vans, either pre-existing camper vans or vans with the idea of converting them into like campers and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think it is a thing that happens, but it's started to become more of a thing in recent years. What about, is that something that people in the US do?
No, we go, it's like you get a trailer that's outfitted with like we even had we had a shitty hunting trailer that was, I don't know, maybe 19 feet. And it had a bed, like a full bed, a full kitchen, a bathroom. Did it have a shower? I think there might have been a shower. And it was like a tiny, I think we bought it for like $900 and spent 6 months renovating it. But no, it's like that's the idea of, I mean, it's like, it's such an anomaly that people create YouTube channels where they're like, I'm in a camper van and it's got a bed, but that's it. And I'm going around the United States and like look at my vlog kind of thing.
Yes. I think it's one of those things that like, like even like, being a digital nomad and stuff like that, that the reality of it versus the reality of it versus the idea of it are two very different things. And like, see doing this for a week. Cool.
Yeah.
And we're going to be sending a few campsites here and there. We're going to end up parking at the side of a road. We have like some decent ideas for that. There's like an app called Park for Night that basically people find parking lots that they can recommend.
Walmart. Sorry.
Exactly. That no police are going to come around and tell you to like move on.
Right.
You know. So we just have things like that saved, and we're just gonna figure it out.
Good. It's exciting.
So excited for it. I really am. Looking forward to it.
Are you making playlists?
I mean, like, I've got so many playlists. So I think I've told you before, my playlist is essentially just a big like mosh pit of all the songs.
I've heard it.
Because you have heard it. If I like make specific things, I just don't listen to them. So like my playlist is about 48 hours of music. That I just will like put on random and be like, oh, nice.
I still have the original iPod. I don't know if you remember seeing it, like from like 2007 or 6 or whatever. Yeah, and that's what I do. Like, especially when Mike's gone and it's like quiet and the kids are at school and I'm like, I just want to not feel alone. I put it on random and then I'm like, wow, there's a lot of heavy metal on here.
Hell yeah, that's what I get here. We were talking about me as a kid recently, and somebody was like, "Oh, so you're just like baggy jeans and an Offspring t-shirt?" I'm like, so close.
Yes.
Basically, baggy jeans and a Korn t-shirt, and you're bang on. But yeah, so the other thing that I did, I think you'll find interesting, is I finally did some reformer Pilates.
Ooh, what'd you think?
Have you done it before?
I have twice now.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's crunchy, it's tough.
Yeah.
Like, we did a beginner's class and I was like, I am smart enough to not be entirely cocksure about this stuff and like going in like, and because I've done it before where I've been like, oh, I do yoga, this is going to be no problems to me, and then like I get decimated. So like I kind of was aware that because it was going to be different, I would still find it difficult, but like I knew a lot of the movements were similar. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll be able to like step it up a wee bit. Like I'll maybe be able to increase the resistance as I go. Hell no. Even like the add-ons, I was like, I'm not doing any of these add-ons. This is rough as hell.
Yeah. It's hard.
I think it's like the precision of the movements and like how targeted they are versus, yoga or whatever. I mean, like, I think a lot of yoga postures do target certain parts, but these seem to like laser focus on various parts of your legs or your like core and things like that. It's woof.
And
it's
like it's about not giving you a break either. So they're like, okay, we're going to switch position. You do, but then you're still working on the same muscle group and you're like, fuck you. I just want to lay here with my like feet up. And did you wear the weird socks?
Yes.
Okay. I have a pair. Yeah. So I did like the candlelight Pilates class on accident.
Yeah.
And
that was a reformer one, was it?
That was a reformer, yeah. And it was a lot of like laying on the floor and like rolling on a roller and like just like kind of ironing out the fascia, but half of it was on the reformer, and I was like, it was dark too, and it was like all candlelight, so I was like, I can't see anything, and like, what am I supposed to be doing, and like, what are the handles? So
it's an interesting combination, like reformer and candlelight. Now I think about it, because like it's such an athletic, like yoga I can understand a little, a lot more actually.
Yeah, and it was super confusing because like the room next to it was candlelight yoga, and I was just sure that that's where I was going because this made no sense, right?
No. Amazing. So funny.
Okay, are you going to do it again?
Yeah, I'm going to do it again because I'm a friggin' masochist. And I am. I mean, I absolutely am. And also, just, I think it like, connects so well with yoga, I think, and so like I definitely want to keep at it,
Yeah.
But like I'm glad. This is the other thing. Top tip for anybody who's ever considering this: get your grippy socks ahead of time, because if you turn up in the night, they're going to charge you a lot of money for a pair of their own grippy socks. So yeah.
I guess like I also didn't know that there's a whole history about Pilates, and I didn't consider how who invented it or why, but I think it was for like circus performers.
I think so. Some sort of like European guy, I think called like Joseph. I think his name's Pilates, and he brought it over to like help. It was performers and things like that. Yeah,
which I was excited about. I was like, that's interesting. That's a fun fact.
It is. It is. But yeah.
Can you? So yeah, good luck with your trapeze work.
Thanks. I mean, like, I am. One of my goals this year is to learn how to handstand properly.
It's so hard.
I know.
It's
like,
so hard.
I think I could do it against the wall. In
I
fact,
can do it, yeah.
I know I can do it against the wall, but like I would like to, like, I think I have the core strength to do it now, but I just feel like I need to practice it, you know, so.
Yeah, I used to be able to do, I was almost there. I was almost there. And then I got one of those, like, it's those weird chair things that you put your head inside.
Yeah.
And like, I had that, but then, yeah, I just ended up not focusing on hanging upside down. Yeah.
I was offered an opportunity to use one of those at a festival, and I was sober, but I was just like, no, I'm not. This is not the time or place for me to do.
You're like,
this,
I'm wearing a utility kilt.
Yeah, I'm wearing a utility exactly. And I do have shorts on, of course, because I am very, very scared about exposing myself. But yeah, love it. So, do you have any more? What's crack, or do you have? So we move on. What's occurring?
I have No, I'm good on crack, and I have one occurring.
All right.
So we talked a few weeks ago about my vision of all the board games falling on you, and that would be the end of Andy, right? So
I was like, what a way to go!
Right.
What a way to go.
Someone said if Andy's bookshelf full of games falls on him and it kills him, could we say he died of terminal boredom?
All right, fine.
I like it.
All right, okay, that's fair. I mean, like that works.
It like
that
tickles
works.
the dad joke.
It does. It does.
Itch that we have every episode.
Yeah, that's true.
How about you?
I mean, like, you know, let's just keep willing it.
I know.
It'll eventually. We'll just friggin' miss me. It'll trap me in here or something like that. With the starvation instead. All right, love it. It's good. So, shall we move on to our topic for the week?
Yes.
Beth, I have named it the naturalists, as opposed to the naturists, which are two very different things. But what are your thoughts on that?
You know, my mom is a certified naturalist. And like took a bunch of classes and learned things about nature. I don't know if I feel qualified.
Fair enough. What
about Ramblin?
Ramblin, that's the one.
or walkabout. I don't know.
No, Ramblin's good.
Okay.
with no G.
Right, Ramblin.
Yeah, perfect. All right, perfect. Yeah, because we just want to talk about, like, we have, you know, the kind of parks that we visited, the hikes that we've been on, like nature that we have kind of like seen that has kind of touched us in various ways, because like it is something that I think that has like resonance for both of us, I think, like nature especially, you know, in all ways. So we thought it'd be fun just to have a chat about that.
Yeah, I have a definition which I actually disagree with.
Okay.
So it says a hike is a long, vigorous walk, usually on trails or footpaths in the countryside. Apparently was developed in Europe during the 18th century. Which I was like, how can you...
redefining going
basically, right? But I don't think it encompasses enough. And one thing in particular that I love to do is urban hiking.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that... And partially because, you know, we're humans and we have now taken over so much land that, like, New Yorkers, unless you go to Central Park, you know, the odds of seeing a plant or a bird that isn't a pigeon are pretty slim.
That's true.
So I think that, and I do consider like the 15 or 20,000 steps that I walk in a city, checking it out, like that's hiking and it's cool.
I think that's very fair. And like, I think, you know, the exploration side of things is absolutely something that needs to be taken into account. Yeah. I like that. And I feel like I also, you know, certainly something that I used to really enjoy. I have like a memory of whenever I was in North Carolina of like, because this would have been not entirely pre mobile phone days, but certainly pre having a map in your mobile phone,
Yep.
and like and I used to just like walking in directions and go, well, it's basically north of here, so if I just follow this path, I'll probably get there.
Mm-hmm.
And it
So
did not work out for me at all.
I was gonna say, do you have a sense of direction?
I do.
That's
I
good.
think that, like, by and large, I'm pretty good at that, and I'm pretty good if somebody's like, you're in charge of directions, you're in charge of, like, figuring out how we get there, how we get back, etc., etc. I'm pretty good at that. I'm crap with, like, street names and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm good at, like, just like, it's more like, somebody says to me, something's in this street, I'll be like, and if they're like, it's across from, like, that garage, the garage that has, like, the picture of the bear and the bear's wearing the hat, and I'm like, oh yeah, the hat bear. That's the sort of thing that stays with me,
Right.
rather than street names.
Landmarks. Yeah, I have
Yes.
no sense of direction.
Oh really?
So I
I think
kind
we've
of,
talked about this.
I have to route myself like, okay, where's the ocean? Okay, so that's
Yes.
west. So then, but like staring in I think, I've told you this. Every direction I look is north because that's how my brain operates.
Nice. I love
It's
it.
terrible. It's terrible. So like, but I will say, and I guess like I want to go back to like who introduced you to hiking?
I feel like it was something that I was really resistant to. I remember like going on hikes with my dad. There is there's no mountains, I don't think, technically, in Northern Ireland, but we have some like pretty big hills.
Yeah, I
kind
would
of.
say so.
And there's like one that we went to. I remember my dad taking me there, probably in my early 20s, but like I really didn't have a lot of desire to do that, really, or really kind of drive to do it until then. And then like it was only really when I started, whenever I had a dog, essentially, and I was getting outdoors more, and I was like, oh, there's something to this is really kind of good for me, and I'm really enjoying it, and it's meaningful. So that then, like, whenever people suggested things, or people suggested taking trips and going places, it was like, oh, that could be, whereas that could be fun. Whereas I think before I would have maybe been like, I don't want to walk all day.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. So it was like you deciding for you that it gave you all the things that come from being in nature and being a naturalist.
I think so. Being a naturalist, exactly. I think that it was more like, I think, like, I always enjoyed walking, so it's probably not a big stretch, but like I would have normally just walked like in a city or a town or whatever, but I would have, like, I wouldn't have been like expecting like rides places, I would just been like, yeah, I'll just walk to a place,
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was like a natural step, but I think it was like the idea of actually traveling somewhere to walk. I was kind of like, I can just walk.
It's like people that
these streets,
I have that feeling, right, when I see people that are like driving their bike somewhere.
Yes.
And I'm like, which like I get, right? Not everyone lives in a place that is bike friendly, but
Sure.
it seems a little redundant in a funny way.
So true.
Yeah. So I was kind of like born hiking,
Love it.
which like my parents, I remember, like, I was born in the mountains of Appalachia, and they had this like wicker basket that they would put me in. And we lived in the woods. So, and my dad was doing research on the other side of the mountain. So he would and there was no road. So he would hike across. And it wasn't like, it was hilly. So it was like, that's just, and there wasn't a lot to do, right? It was a tiny 500-person town. So we just hiked in the woods a lot. And discovered moonshine stills. But then we moved to Oregon, and I remember, it was like elementary school, middle school. We didn't have a lot of money, but like every weekend my parents were like, let's explore, let's go hiking. And I'd be like, oh my God, all they want to do is play Super Mario Brothers. Right? So it wasn't, and it was like, in retrospect, I feel like a brat because of it, but all I could wait, I was just like, okay, let's just like get to the point where I can sit down and eat lunch at the viewpoint and then walk back to the car. But I saw some
I
really
think,
cool things.
but I think that's a very common experience as a kid. Like, you don't want to friggin' hike, really. You know what I
I
mean?
have a
Especially,
child who
especially
is a
like,
hiker.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. The
Because
youngest one.
Charlie,
Yeah.
yeah, Charlie likes hiking
Loves it.
and
Like,
and
he could just go and go and go. He could walk forever.
love it.
I know.
It's good.
But he's also
It's
8. He's
like,
got energy.
oh, this is true. Yeah. Oh, he'll learn the aches and pains of getting
I
older.
know.
But I do love that. I love that sort of connection to it. Like, and I think that there are definitely some kids who probably respond to that probably better. I think that, like, also we grew up in a time where, like, your pulls for our attention are pulls that for, things that entertained us, where there was so much of it, and
Yeah.
that which is still the case now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But like,
true.
I think that, you know, certainly something when we were younger that wouldn't have been considered would have been the mental health benefits
Yep.
of it.
Yep.
Right? Whereas
Yep.
it really is now, and people are, and it's like, it's provably, it provably makes a difference for those things.
So, spending quality time in the outdoors reduces stress, calms anxiety, and can lead to lower risk of depression, according to a study done by researchers at Stanford University. I've heard, and I worked in the naturopathic community, and I would say 50% of the time your doctor would be like, and I'm prescribing you to go for a walk, like get outside, go be in
Yep.
nature as part of your treatment plan. So I think on the one hand, how lovely, and on the other hand, that's terrifying that so few people
Yeah.
are spending time out in nature. And again, proximity to nature is a difficult thing, assuming you have
True.
transportation. But, you know, I think that it really does do more than just like make your bones stronger and your muscles stronger.
Yeah. I think absolutely it does. And like, and I do get it, and I have been in hikes, bigger hikes where I have had to deal with. We have, I'm sure you have equivalent things. We once like did a bit of hiking and camping trip, and we ended up like setting up tents close to a body of water, and the air was filled with
Bugs.
flies.
Yes.
And it was an absolute nightmare.
You're just
'Cause
like,
the
I
plan
can't
was,
sit in the tent all day.
no, yeah, this is the thing. Like, as soon as it went sundown, all these flies appeared, and we were like supposed to cook that evening and like just hang out. And it was like, nope, we're like doing our best to heat up food, kind of, then throwing ourselves in our tent, and I guess going to sleep at like 7:30.
Right. You're like, it's dark.
All
Nothing else to
right.
do. So if you had to watch a movie about a good hike, what would it be?
Oh jeez, you mean like something? I kind of want to watch. What's the Reese Witherspoon one?
Oh, yeah, Wild?
Well, I think it's just called Wild, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of want to see it. I've heard it's fantastic. But I don't know that I have the ones that I think of are, is it 72 hours? The one where like
Oh, 128?
120 hours or whatever.
127?
127?
It's with
Like,
James Franco, where he like cuts off.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's based on a true story. This guy's like,
Yeah.
he told no one
127
that he's
hours.
hiking in this place, and he's like, crazy like boulder climber, and ends up falling and getting his arm stuck. 127 hours, right? Arm stuck, and he
That's right.
cuts it off in order to escape.
Yeah.
And he did escape and got
so
out.
that's the,
Yep.
that's the
And now he's a
one that immediately
motivational
comes to mind.
speaker.
Is he? Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And I suppose he's earned it at that stage. Like, he literally cut his arm off with a penknife, which
Yeah.
is just.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like, fair play to him. Like, I think
Did you
that'd
see
be
that
the case
movie?
where
Did you see the movie?
Yes, I did. I love the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only. It's the only hiking movie I can think of that I've seen, but that might not be the case.
Okay. I'm gonna blow your mind.
Go for it.
Okay. Crocodile Dundee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good.
I know.
Point.
I know.
They definitely do go hiking there. Yeah, like that.
I watched
But
the beginning of it last night. I once he gets to New York, I'm not interested anymore. But just
No.
like the music, the soundtrack, like just them and walking, and it's so good.
the key piece of music from that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's probably other ones if I actually really thought hard about it that that probably do fit that. But yeah, I say yeah, I really see the wild, but like I think 127 hours is the immediate one that springs to mind. Even like the thing that I really remember from that film is him being trapped there and him thinking about the Gatorade that's in his car. That's just and like it like cuts to the Gatorade and it's like like the moisture is just running
Yeah.
down the side
It's
of it.
sweating.
I've done that, but like I haven't had my arm pinned. I've still been like, oh, there's a drink in the car. I really want it right now. And I'm just like, slightly dehydrated.
I know, it's like slightly different circumstances.
I'm like, oh god, no, save me, please.
A little tiny bit parched.
I need my Gatorade.
Okay, so what's something that you've learned about yourself while hiking somewhere?
I think probably like, what I found really interesting was in my fitness journey, what a difference it made to me. I remember one year, I don't think we did it when you were here. We went to one of the places that's overlooking Belfast Lough when you were here, but there is another walk you can do up a place called Cave Hill, and I remember doing that walk and like going up, the kind of one of the ascents basically. It's not super steep, it's not crazy by any stretch of the imagination. I've done way harder since then, but like walking up that and being like so really struggling, like sweating loads, really struggling to breathe. And then I did it a year later and I kind of got to the stage where I had been really struggling and I was like, my breathing's a bit more laboured, but I'm doing pretty good here. Like it's really not hitting me at all. And I was like, oh, okay, this is such a clear indication to me of how the benefits of either of being in shape and not just for hikes but probably generally just for my health. So it was like a real, if evidence were needed, such a clear example of how much I needed that in my life and how good it was for me.
That's good. I think this is the difference between you and I. I immediately was like, okay, what darkness did I learn? And it was like, I've had experiences like thinking back where I think, and maybe it's because I'm a woman, not to make it like a safety thing, but I think it's a little bit different. Being a woman and like hiking alone, like safety is a thing.
Absolutely.
And I think, hiking always makes me, I guess, a little bit hyper aware of like, okay, where am I? Who are these people? Yep. So I think I have to kind of separate myself and like what I'm experiencing, but also like have this little part of me that's hyper vigilant and hyper aware of my surroundings. And that makes me, I think it makes me sad.
No, yeah, truly, it is very sad, and I think that like, it's it's something that I think it's also like that also occurred to me. I think, and we talked about this in like one of our traveling episodes, is that like I have like had female friends and I've been like, oh, you need to go to this place, you need to go to this place, and they're like, yeah,
can't,
I don't know that,
yeah,
and I'm like, yeah, and it really sucks, and I like. It's easy especially as a freaking white man in particular, to take for granted how the doors that kind of opens for you, and how much easier it makes things. Like it really fucking sucks. It really sucks.
It's like man or bear.
Yes, that's just the thing. The whole man or bear debate recently, like, and everybody's like a bear. This is the thing, and it's like I heard like a guy talking about hiking recently, and it was one of the reasons I thought about this, and he was like, that is the last thing you want to do, even as a man, even when you're with people, if you're out on a hike, especially in the wilderness, if you come across a human, like if you come across a bear, you're like, well, the bear's supposed to be here. This is its house. Yep. This is its area. Like, if you come across a human, you're like, why the fuck are they out here? Yeah. Are they just hiking? Are they up to no good? Yeah. And it's like, there's nobody else around. It's far more sketchy. Yeah. Absolutely more sketchy. But yeah, so one of the things I was thinking of was like, do you have like a sort of like particular hike or like a weird, not weird memory, but like a specific memory from any of your hikes that really kind of springs to mind?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think, well, I have quite a few. I think one that I really like, this is simple, but there's this place in Oregon. It's called Cascade Head. I think it's on, I don't know if it's the Snake. I don't want to get it wrong. Someone's going to
Yeah.
correct me.
Sure.
It's on the Oregon coast, and it's a Native American. There's like, I don't know if it's protected, so part of it you can't actually go, but like it's so fucking gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the top of it and you're so high up that the bald eagles are like flying below you. And like the entire hike is like you go up and then you come down, which you've done with me before, and can imagine how happy I am. But like it's just so beautiful, and like you've I think I took you to Cape Perpetua. We did a hike up there when you visited in Oregon, and like it's just astounding and gorgeous. Yeah. And then I have another one. I had some girlfriends in college, and we were like, oh, we're going to go hike Mary's Peak, which is in this little town south of Portland. And we were like, we're going to camp overnight. And so we brought like a tent and weed, and it was super, super windy. And like, we're all like in the tent, like hotboxing it, super fucking high. And then these people come and start fucking with us. And they're like, who's in there? What are you guys doing? And like, you're high, you're paranoid, right? You can't see outside of what's like, you can't see the tent. You can't see what the people look like, you know? And it was like, it totally freaked me the fuck out. Too high. So then like they walked away, and we were like, all three of us were just like, this is danger. Like we got to go now. So we like booked it out. Like, we didn't even fold the tent up. Somebody grabbed the pole, somebody grabbed the tent. We like ran down the mountain in the dark. Yeah, it's fine. So I think like, again, safety, like knowing, it's like, you know, I guess knowing what to pack and like what time you should go, and, you know, should you bring a cell phone and all those things. It's like all those things matter. Basically, bear mace.
Bear on human mace.
Yes.
I mean, like bear mace is going to work.
Or cocaine, you know, and throw it at the bear.
Right, yeah. I take it was a guy that was trying to fuck with you in the tent? Yeah. Yeah, of course it was.
It was two dudes.
Of course.
Yeah. How about you? Do you have a fun, happy memory?
Like, one of the things that really strikes me, and I still have such a clear memory of it, is whenever I went to North Korea, and we went to North Korea on a hiking trip, because there's this mountain, the name of which I tried to find, but I couldn't. Basically, it's just over the border on the kind of eastern side of the peninsula. And I remember like climbing that mountain. It just made a beautiful, really crisp day, and me filling my like water bottle with river water, and it being the most delicious like river water I've ever tasted. Like who knows what was in it?
I was like,
I was I think far enough away from any kind of industrial areas that it was probably okay, but like it's just such a crystal clear memory in my head. I do have like I think I remember clearly getting to the top of Mount Baldy and seeing the view, and just seeing and like, because like you're 10,000 feet up there, and it's like it's staggering how much of the US you can see from there. It was crazy, like, and that is such that's just seared into my head. And then like as we're leaving that, because we kind of went up one way and went down another way, you're like on this, there's like a strip, it's gotta be like maybe half a meter wide, if that, where you're like walking along and the wind is intense, and it's like quite steep down each side of it, and you know that like one wrong kind of step and it could be quite scary. So that was just seared into my brain. Mm-hmm. But yeah, a really memorable hike and a really lovely hike. I really enjoyed that. Geez, I was suffering for it afterwards, but no regrets.
Yeah,
we didn't hike the entirety of the 10,000 feet, but we parked at like 6,000 feet up. But still, 4,000 feet isn't bad for an ascent.
That's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge. Did you feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It You're like, why am I so winded? And it's like, no,
Yes.
it's like you're hiking.
But it was a nice one. It gets another good sort of like, I've done like, I think, and I've mentioned this before, I'm sure, on the podcast, over lockdown, one of the real kind of saving graces for me was that a friend organised a hiking group because it was one of the things that we could do under, lockdown guidelines. And it was such a lifeline to me because it was like, just, you were getting outdoors, you were getting human contact, which was so rare at that time. It was certainly like in-person contact, and it was also a great way to explore Northern Ireland and see places that I hadn't really seen before. We also went to the south a little bit, so it was just really wonderful, and it gave me a great, so not only did it give me that human contact that I so sorely needed, it also allowed me to see the country through a new lens.
Yeah, when you were like in Peru and you were like, I may never get home again. Oh, I'm home! Yay! I'll appreciate a little bit more. So do you have like a bucket list for hiking? Like places you would like to go?
I really want to. I mean, like, I'm doing one of them. I'm getting the Rockies.
Yeah.
That has been long on my list. I really had wanted to quite do. I mean, I don't know whether it counts as a hike, but I really had wanted to visit like Uluru in Australia.
Ayers Rock.
Ayers Rock. Yeah.
Maybe the dingo ate your baby.
Maybe the dingo will. Maybe. And that's kind of been on my list, but like I don't think I kind of like part of me, because I'm not really like somebody who looks at big mountains and is like I need to like do my best to get up there, but I hear that Mount Fuji is manageable if you're in decent condition, and I think if I ever was to go to Japan, I would quite like to make an effort to climb that.
Yeah.
But like it's interesting that like most of my hike sort of goals are like mountains or the like, but yeah, I have no, there's people that are like do like touristy kind of like Everest or whatever. I fuck all interest in those things that are, there's a reasonable chance you will not make it down.
Yeah.
I don't care about that, but Mount Fuji looks feasible. What about you?
I think I've done the Olympic Peninsula.
What's that?
It's like where they filmed Twilight. It's so rainy.
My favorite movie
yes,
series?
Your favorite movie series. I just honestly, I like. I guess like it's not, I've hiked a Teton. A lot of this I did as a kid too when we were doing like cross country road trips. So I've done the Tetons, I've done the Rockies. I've been to Yellowstone. I've been to Yosemite. What I prefer, I think, is like hiking and like finding like old ruins in places and like things that are like not as discovered, because I like pretending that I'm Indiana Jones and like I'm gonna find the holy relic or whatever. So like I think I don't know where those places are necessarily. I would like, no. I would like to walk on the Great Wall of China.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
And then I think, I don't know, I'm not a big mountain hiker person. We had a lot of mountains where I lived in Oregon. It was like you were an hour away from Mount Hood and like 2.5 hours away from Mount St. Helens. You can climb Mount St. Helens. Mount Rainier's right there. But like summiting is just not my thing. I feel like you've seen me summit. So that actually happened at once in my life, and there you go.
Something, and I meant to bring it up earlier, is, I wanted to ask if you had an equivalent, was that the schools in the UK have a thing called the Duke of Edinburgh, which is a thing to encourage kids to get outdoors, go hiking, learn skills to camp, to like cook outdoors, things like that. Start fires and so on and so forth. And I was something that I kind of wanted to. I think, like I remember like not being interested in sports or any of that shit. So I think I was just like, I just want to like leave me alone. Let me read my books and my comics in the house. So I never like really went for it. But I kind of regretted it because like I think it might have given me more of an appetite to do that earlier, but I got there eventually.
Yeah.
But do you have an equivalent?
I mean, we do. I mean, we have Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, but
Yes.
Boy Scout, that's
Yeah,
mired
it's a
in
whole other thing.
controversy.
Yeah.
And I would say not really. Like, it's not
Okay.
part of the public education system to get people involved in outdoor activities. I did, I was lucky that I had a good troop leader who was less interested in, making socks into rabbits and more interested in, like taking us and teaching us how to camp and like backpacking
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. So I did, and I had parents that were into that kind of stuff too. So we went backpacking, which I hated. And,
Yeah.
but I do know how to start a fire outside, and I do know how
Nice.
to, in like 3 different ways, and like whether or not I can actually do that now,
Yeah.
if called upon, who knows. But I wish that there was more of that here.
Yes. And I think
And
it's
the other thing we have is like, it's like Outward Bound or whatever. So that if you get in trouble, then they ship you off to the woods for 3 months.
oh, I've heard about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of legislation, like with Paris Hilton, because she was part of one of those programs for bad kids, and like the abuse that happens and all that. So that's essentially
yeah.
like where you go.
It sounds like one of those
It's
like, alpha
punishment.
camps where they're like, they're just like training you to be an alpha, and instead you just get treated like shit for a month,
Yeah.
and are told
Yeah.
this will make a man out of you.
Exactly.
And you're like, huh? What? What did I get any skills there? Like I still think that like, I was thinking about some of the other places and things that I've been, and like I remember, sometimes the more popular or more famous places have like been a little bit disappointing, and like whereas like one of the clear memories I have is whenever I was in North Carolina and I had the Amtrak pass for a month, and I was in where's Grand Canyon in Arizona?
It's in several states.
Yes, in several states.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wherever
Because
the
it's so
Mace or
grand.
Yes, that's true. It is. It is very grand. It lives up to its name, everybody. But like, I remember my initial view, like initially arriving at Grand Canyon and look and like see, like there's like a place at the bus stops that kind of overlooks it, and the scale and the scope is kind of like staggering. Like I still have such a clear memory of a like busload of I believe Japanese tourists like arriving and all coming out, filing out of the bus, and just this wave of and it just grew louder as they all kind of saw. It was just so wonderful. But I remember like seeing that, and then like everything else after that was diminishing returns with the Grand Canyon. It was like nothing quite topped that initial kind of look. But when we were also there in that similar area, or like as I say, similar area, still like probably 3 hours drive away from there. The same people that took us there took us to these like more traditional sort of like red rock valleys and things like that had old Indian settlements and things like that, like kind of ancient Indian settlements and stuff like that, and that was like so much more fulfilling and kind of like meaningful, I found.
I totally understand. I get frustrated and completely like turned off if we show up somewhere that is well known and it's you and like 150 other people all trying
Yep.
to take the same photo of a buffalo or whatever, or like being on a trail and it's like, I'm an American, so we don't say hi to each other. So, but when you're on a trail, it's like the rules are a little bit different. So you're like, hello, hello, hello,
Yep.
hello.
It's true.
And it's just like, I just want space, and like you can, there are places obviously that you can find that, but now I live in Southern California where there is no space,
It's
Like
true.
there is, when you and I did our mountain hike, it was like 102 out, and there was still
Yeah,
people that were, on the mountain.
there were.
So I really like being alone in nature
Yeah,
without,
yeah,
much
and it's
opportunity to see other people.
yeah. I like it. I think, and it's those sort of like hidden gems that you only really ever find from living somewhere a big stretch of time. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. And like Mike and I, we took, I don't know, this, we did a lot of camping in the summers, and we would go drive out into the middle of fucking nowhere, Oregon. And like there was like an old basalt mine,
Okay.
and there was like a pond there that had like the warnings. There were all these like signs that are like, enter at your own risk, boiling
Yep.
water, you might die kind of stuff. And I was like, this is so great. There was no one there. And they had like a special one fish that lives in the basalt water. Not basalt. No, no. What was it? There's a chemical that you used to use to wash clothes, and it starts with
Oh, is
B.
it? Oh, hold on.
It's okay. It's okay. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I will go ask Mike. Not right now, but I'll find out because it's gonna drive me crazy. Not basalt. Basalt is a rock. He's a geologist. I know this shit. Come on, Beth.
Borax.
Yes, Borax Lake. Thank you.
Is it borax? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's Borax Lake, and there's a fish that lives in the borax,
Wow.
and it was like it's the one fish that can survive.
Was that the stuff that's like really kind of like the water's really kind of like it's not clear. It's pretty interesting. I did not know that
Yeah.
anything could live there.
Yep.
Quite
Yep.
fascinating.
A fish can. Um, I can't remember my point, but yeah, I just like discovering. I appreciate things more when they're not as well known.
Yeah.
You know.
Whenever they kind of take you by
Yeah.
surprise.
Like
Yeah.
Yosemite was
Yeah.
so crowded, and I was just like,
Yeah.
I gotta get out of here.
Like, it
Nature
is
should not be
stunning, but
Disneyland.
That's true. It's one of the things I quite liked about Joshua Tree was the sheer scope of that park is huge, and you will see people, but like you can absolutely, I mean, there's just such a wide swathe of things that you can visit, and it's really kind of, and like you can absolutely find quiet moments there. You really can. But yeah, it's I know what you mean, and especially stuff that becomes hyper popular. It's like, I don't know. It just like really dulls. It dulls the edge of it, And there's nothing. Like you say. There's nothing like maybe like cresting the peak of a hill and just catching a view and being like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I remember like Thailand being great for that. It's obviously well trodden paths, but like it's not really pitched as, it's just more. I don't know. I think the appeal of Thailand,
No one's like,
for a lot of
the
people
hiking
tends
is
to be-
amazing. Go for that, right?
They're kind of like you can get drunk
Yeah.
for virtually nothing
Yeah.
and like, yeah, let's party, so like that. They really took me by surprise how stunning that was in a lot of places. Even like I remember going through a hike in the woods, and there was like a giant flower that only like bloomed for certain types of the year, and like we had missed the peak, but we stumbled across one of them in the woods, and it was dying, but it was still like an incredible thing to discover and just kind of see and kind of know that it was there. I think we've recently talked before about whenever I was in Western Australia, and we knew that there was a river that a type of large ray kind of migrated down, but we were like, we don't know whether it's the right time of year for it, but like going there, and it's just this crystal clear water, because like one of the particularly good parts about the west coast of Australia is that it's very remote, and like there's not many people there, and just loads of these rays just very clearly like going down into the ocean. It was just like this rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like, having grown up where folklore is a big deal, and like, using nature as medicine.
Yep.
I like, that's the kind of stuff I dig too, and just like walking in the forest, and it's like if you hear if you hear, this is an Appalachian thing. It's like if you hear your name like in the wind, that's like really bad, real bad,
Yes. Oh,
right?
really? It's okay.
And there are things that you have to do, and like just this concept that I don't know, spirits live in the forest or in nature, and same thing in Hawaiian culture,
Yep.
and Tahitian culture. I just that's I mean, obviously I love being in nature for all of those benefits, but you know, maybe there's a ghost
Yeah. Yeah.
that wants to hike with me.
Hell yeah. I mean, it's always nice to have a bit of company. I suppose as long as they're a chill ghost.
Yeah.
As long as they're probably not a male ghost.
Right.
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 That'd be preferable. The other thing that I wanted to just touch on before we kind of like maybe start wrapping up was that one of the things I love, and I think that one of the things that I have really realized how much I love, is I love to see the sea.
Yes.
Like
that's
I
on my
find
list.
that being near the sea very calming. I find that like I get to look at it every day, and like
You're
that's
so
not
lucky.
something- Yeah. I don't think a lot of people really can't have that option, especially a lot of people in the US. Like, I remember, like, again, hearing about people who are like, I didn't really see the ocean until I was,
Yeah.
geez, it's until they're in their 20s or whatever,
They
it's
call
nuts.
it being landlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it does something to your brain, but like, one of the walks here, like, we have, one of the most apparently beautiful coastlines. We did it whenever you were
Yes.
here. Beautiful coastlines in, I think, the UK or Europe or whatever. Whatever that means. Like, but doing hikes along there, that big hike, that marathon hike I did last year was a lot of that coastline. It's just really beautiful and staggering.
It's so stunning, and I think it's so I have seen something like it ish, right? Because Oregon is very similar
Yeah.
in elevation and in the wildness of it and the stark beauty of it, but it's still Ireland has its own beauty for Northern Ireland has its own beauty for sure.
Yes, I think so. There's something particular. It's one of the things that I love whenever I see like certain like in movies, whenever something is shot in Ireland, there's like you're like, that's definitely Ireland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
it's like
I'll see like, photos, and they'll be using it for promotions, and I'm like, that's not Ireland, that's Northern Ireland.
yes.
But they call it
Yeah,
Ireland.
well, also true.
Yeah.
This is also true. There is I think there's a pretty clear distinction.
Yeah.
Like it's like I think about the why have I forgot? The Stanley Kubrick movie about the Irish guy.
I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, and like whenever I saw footage
Stanley
of
Kubrick
that,
made a movie about an Irish guy.
yeah, it's not one of his better. Barry Lyndon.
Oh, I loved Barry. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Parkour.
So Barry
Parkour.
Lyndon, like whenever you see photos, where you see you're like, this is clearly shot in Ireland because it looks exactly like Ireland. Whereas like the one I bitched about before, whenever Sons of Anarchy did their Northern Irish season, it was like all the wide shots were clearly Ireland, and then they would like stop, and it was like desert and stuff, and I'm like, there is no desert in this country. there is none. So yeah, very funny. But yeah. Any other thoughts or any other things you want to touch on?
I
or
think
topic?
generally, like, if anyone is out there that's like, I want to hike, but I feel like I don't have hiking shoes.
Yeah.
Or not to say like, obviously, dress for where you're hiking, but it's just go walk.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably start not small to begin with, and also but like, yeah, a pair of trainers will get you out there, and like, just take some water and enjoy yourself,
and maybe a snack.
Yeah, maybe a snack, please. Yes, a healthy snack with energy. Yeah.
But I will say, for all the complaining I did as a child, it really did, and it has enriched my life, and I have been to some cool places, and I'm excited to revisit and explore and check shit out.
It is, yeah. It's hard to beat. There's nothing that can compare, I think, to a bit of exploration.
Yeah.
Love it. All right.
It sounds like you just said expiration, but you said exploration, right?
Maybe. Maybe. I let the listeners decide.
You're so dark.
I'm so dark. I love it. All right. Beth, what has been bringing you joy this week?
Salad.
Okay.
And raw broccoli for reals. Isn't that sad? Just like eating
can't
shit.
Make friends with salad. Can't make friends with salad.
I haven't been able to eat it in so long without frustration. So that feels good. True. I've been kind of like checking out. I don't know if you probably didn't, but there was this podcast, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, called Serial. And it's like,
yes.
Okay. So I'm,
yeah.
Yep. So, and they did, I think 2 or 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
The first season was so good. And I remember like walking, Harper had just been born. And I was like trying to walk around and get out of the house. And so I was just like listening to this podcast. And now I'm like, I got to get back into like a serialized podcast. So I'm listening to Your Own Backyard. It's obviously, because it's me, it's about murder and it's not a happy story, but I just appreciate that, you know, this person is trying to solve a cold case. It's not cold case, it's still open, but this murder that happened in his town. So yay for serialized podcasts. Also, I started Conan O'Brien Must Go last night.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'd watched his Kennedy Center award ceremony.
I've heard that's amazing.
It's really good. So I was like, I had forgotten, and it's so fun watching everyone like make fun of a comedian that you really love.
Yes.
Especially when it's being done by other comedians who like love that person. And I love me some Conan O'Brien. You know, like I remember The Interrupter and The Masturbating Bear, like on his earlier TV show with Andy Richter. So, and like Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. So what he's doing in this show is he's got this podcast called Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, and he calls people all over the world. And what he's doing is he's going and he's surprising these people. So he showed up in Norway, and this guy's like, "Oh my God, you know, like you're here," and he's just ridiculous. He's so. I'm just laughing the whole time. I'm like, this is so stupid. So I highly recommend, if you want a good laugh, watch. And the studio is, you know, only releasing 1 episode a week. Check out Conan O'Brien Must Go.
I love it.
He has no shame.
He does, and like, I think he does seem like a genuinely nice man who's beloved by people, which is always, you know, always a sign that maybe
humans can be good,
funny, and also good humans, which is a rare combo.
I know.
But yes, okay, I love it.
What about you?
Mine is, I've been playing. So there's a new, you know the video game series Doom. Right, so there's been a new Doom. It just launched last week.
I played that, Doom. Actually.
The first one, the original? Yeah, it was a cracker. I mean, like, it was such a genre-defining, a video game. Yes. It's just incredible. I think I played them all. I think I probably have. But anyway, I digress. The one came out last week called Doom the Dark Ages. And it's kind of like if the Doom guy was like a death metal Captain America, essentially.
Cool.
You have a shield which has like chainsaw blades and stuff on it.
That's fucking cool.
And it's great. And it's just very satisfying. Like, you know, I do love a first person shooter, and like this one is really intense and extremely fun, and yeah, it's really scratching that itch that I love in a video game. So yeah. So Doom the Dark Ages, everyone.
All right, there you go.
Bring me joy.
Bringing you joy. Yeah. First person shooter.
First person shooters, right?
I'm like murder podcast.
Don't put us on lists, okay? Because we're already on them.
That's right.
Don't even worry about it. Amazing. All right, folks. Or Beth, actually, before we move on, could you let everybody know where they can find us?
Well, you can find all about geology, birding, native plants, not at bendypodcast.com, but you can find all of our old episodes and share them with your friends. Pick and choose, because there's like 80 of them at this point, because we're rocking it. Exactly. So find us at bendypodcast.com.
Smashing out of the park.
Right.
All right, folks. In that case, as always, we'd like to remind you to
bendy.
I could have done more about my allergies. Oh, my allergies.
Oh, boo. Boo.
All right, shut up. All right, bye.
Bye, love you guys. Bye.
Bye.